So, Donald Trump just lost control of Mar-a-Lago. A federal judge issued an emergency seizure order 5 minutes ago, and Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha himself, just broke his legendary silence on Trump with a response that's sending shockwaves through both Wall Street and Washington. It's honestly hard to believe this is happening, but the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, working with federal authorities, just executed what legal experts are calling the most dramatic property seizure in American political history. And trust me, when you hear what Buffett said about Trump's financial empire, you'll understand why this changes everything. This isn't just about one property. We're talking about the complete unraveling of Trump's entire power base, and the timing couldn't be more explosive. Let me fill you in on what's been happening, because the details of this seizure are absolutely wild, and the evidence prosecutors have compiled is overwhelming. Mar-a-Lago has been Trump's fortress since he left the White House. It's where he holds court with Republicans, plans his political moves, and essentially runs his shadow presidency. The property isn't just his home. It's his headquarters, his fundraising venue, and the symbol of his post-presidential power. Since January 2021, every major Republican has made the pilgrimage to Palm Beach to kiss the ring. Whether it was Kevin McCarthy begging for support, Ron DeSantis trying to stay in Trump's good graces, or donors writing million-dollar checks, Mar-a-Lago has been the center of the MAGA universe. But that all ended today. For the past 6 months, prosecutors have been building a case around financial fraud related to how Trump valued Mar-a-Lago for tax and loan purposes. And what they found is staggering. According to court documents filed today, Trump claimed the property was worth $1.88 billion when applying for loans from major banks, $1.8 billion. But when it came time to pay taxes on that same property, Trump valued it at just $27 million. That's not a rounding error. That's not a minor discrepancy. That's what prosecutors call criminal fraud. The investigation started with the New York Attorney General, but it quickly expanded when federal authorities discovered connections to interstate banking fraud. We're not talking about a single questionable transaction. This is a pattern that spans decades. Now, this is where it gets wild. Judge Sandra Chen, a Bush appointee who's known for being tough but fair, issued the seizure order at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Time today. The order doesn't just freeze the property, it transfers operational control to a court-appointed receiver. Trump can't host events. He can't use it for political purposes. And here's the kicker. He can't even access certain areas without court supervision. Federal marshals are already on site, and they've locked down the main ballroom where Trump was supposed to host a major donor event tomorrow night. It's absolutely unprecedented. Reports reveal just how desperate Trump's financial situation was getting. According to Forbes, his liquid assets have dwindled to historic lows, with most of his wealth tied up in properties that are either mortgaged to the hilt or facing legal challenges. The truth is, Mar-a-Lago isn't just Trump's home. It's one of his last remaining assets that actually generates positive cash flow. Without it, his entire financial house of cards starts to collapse. And that's exactly what prosecutors are counting on. The seizure order specifically states that Trump engaged in a pattern of fraudulent representations that substantially harmed financial institutions and violated federal banking laws. Judge Chen didn't mince words at all, writing that Trump's conduct showed willful disregard for legal and ethical boundaries in pursuit of personal enrichment. When a federal judge uses language like that, you know things are serious. She even scheduled a press conference for tomorrow morning, which is virtually unheard of for a sitting federal judge. Legal experts are saying this signals she wants to get ahead of any Trump narrative about persecution or judicial overreach. But here's what makes this case so damaging. Deutsche Bank, Trump's longtime lender, finally cooperated with prosecutors after years of resistance. Internal emails show bank executives knew Trump's valuations were questionable, but approved loans anyway because of the potential profits. One executive wrote in 2017, "We all know these numbers are fantasy, but the fees are too good to pass up. That email alone could lead to criminal charges for bank officials." Think about that for a moment. His own bankers, the people who had every incentive to believe him, knew he was lying. And prosecutors found similar patterns with Trump Tower. His golf courses, even his personal apartment, the Mar-a-Lago valuations were just the tip of the iceberg. This is systematic fraud spanning decades, multiple properties, and numerous financial institutions. At first, Trump seemed confident he could weather this storm like all the others. His initial response was typical: attack the prosecutors, claim political persecution, rally his base. He posted on Truth Social that this was the most un-American witch hunt in history and promised his lawyers would destroy the case. But as the evidence mounted and more banks cooperated, cracks started showing. Warren Buffett's response came just 90 minutes after the seizure order. In a rare public statement, the 94-year-old billionaire said, "When you build a business on deception, eventually the bill comes due." I've watched this situation carefully, and what we're saying is the natural consequence of treating business like a con game rather than a trust relationship. Buffett went on to say that he's been warning private investors for months to distance themselves from Trump properties. The fundamentals simply aren't there. He said, "This isn't about politics, it's about math." It's honestly hard to believe Buffett would be this direct. The Oracle of Omaha famously avoids political controversies and rarely comments on individual business failures. He's built his entire reputation on staying above the fray, on letting his investments speak for themselves. But according to sources close to Buffett, he's been deeply concerned about Trump's influence on American business ethics. One Berkshire Hathaway board member, speaking on condition of anonymity, told CNBC that Buffett views Trump as an existential threat to the reputation of American capitalism. And then Buffett revealed something shocking. He said Berkshire Hathaway was approached in 2019 about potentially investing in Trump properties. Buffett took one look at the books and walked away. The numbers simply didn't add up. He said it was obvious that properties were being valued based on fantasy, not financial reality. Think about that for a moment. Warren Buffett, who's made billions finding value where others don't see it, took one look at Trump's books and said, "No thanks." That's devastating for Trump's claim to be a business genius. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen Trump's inner circle abandon him when legal troubles mount. We've spotted this pattern time and time again, and understanding this pattern helps explain why Trump is now completely isolated, with even his usual enablers scrambling to distance themselves. Just think about how Jeff Sessions, his first attorney general and one of his earliest supporters, ended up on Trump's enemies list. Sessions had been loyal from day one. He was the first senator to endorse Trump's presidential campaign. But the moment Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation, Trump turned on him viciously, calling him mentally weak and a traitor. Then there was Bill Barr. Trump thought he had found his perfect attorney general, someone who would protect him at all costs. Barr even intervened in the Miller investigation and mischaracterized its findings. But when Barr refused to back Trump's election lies after January 6th, Trump branded him a disappointment and coward. Barr went from being Trump's shield to just another target of his rage. And let's not forget Mike Pence. 4 years of absolute loyalty, never contradicting Trump, always playing the perfect supporting role. But when Pence refused to overturn the election results on January 6th, Trump's supporters literally built a gallows outside the Capitol. Trump himself tweeted that Pence didn't have the courage while the mob was hunting for his vice president. Even Kevin McCarthy faced this treatment. After initially criticizing Trump for January 6th, McCarthy made his humiliating trip to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee. He thought that would secure Trump's backing for his speakership. But when McCarthy needed Trump most during the speaker fight, Trump gave him only lukewarm support and later blamed him for Republican losses. Now, it looks like Trump's financial enablers are next in line for abandonment. The banks that loaned him money, the accountants who signed off on his valuations, the lawyers who drafted the documents, they're all scrambling to distance themselves. This pattern is becoming all too familiar. You can show all the loyalty in the world and defend Trump every single day. But the moment you become a liability or refuse to break the law for him, he'll toss you aside without a second thought. Legal experts are noting that we haven't seen a property seizure of this magnitude since the government went after mob properties in the 1980s. Jonathan Turley, a conservative law professor who often defends Trump, went on Fox News and made a statement that really should catch everyone's attention. He said that the evidence here is overwhelming, and defending Trump's valuations would be like defending a 3 bill. Just think about that for a moment. When you've lost Jonathan Turley, you've lost the legal argument. And this is coming from a conservative voice on Fox News. Alan Dershowitz, who was on Trump's impeachment defense team, mentioned that the seizure order appears legally sound and procedurally proper. He added that Trump's only hope might be claiming selective prosecution, but even that's a long shot given the magnitude of the fraud. This left Trump in a tight spot. On one side, he really needs to maintain his image as a fighter who never surrenders. His entire political brand depends on it. The MAGA base expects him to battle every charge, appeal every ruling, never show weakness. On the flip side, he actually has to protect his remaining assets. His lawyers were reportedly begging him to negotiate to work out a deal that might preserve some of his properties, but that would require admitting some level of wrongdoing, which Trump simply cannot do. The tricky part is, his financial survival requires the kind of compromise that his political brand forbids. So, Trump is caught in a bind. He can either keep fighting and risk losing everything, not just Mar-a-Lago, but potentially Trump Tower, his golf courses, even his plane. Criminal convictions could follow with serious prison time on the table, or he can try to cut a deal, admit to some financial irregularities, pay massive fines, but keep some assets, but that'll definitely destroy his image as a winner who's always persecuted by the deep state. Things became even more intense when 3 major Republican donors announced they were pulling support from Trump-affiliated PACs. Ken Griffin, the billionaire hedge fund manager who gave $5 million to Trump in 2020, released a statement saying, "I cannot in good conscience support any candidate facing credible allegations of financial fraud." When someone as aligned with Republican causes as Griffin starts turning against you, you know you're in a world of hurt. Griffin's not some moderate. He's funded hardite candidates across the country, but even he sees the writing on the wall. So let's break down what this means, because it's not just a captivating legal story. It has serious consequences for how our democracy operates and whether anyone is truly above the law. At the heart of the issue is whether a former president can just commit financial crimes for decades without consequences. If Trump gets away with this level of fraud, it could totally change how we think about white-collar crime. For 250 years in American democracy, we've prided ourselves on the idea that no one is above the law. Presidents have been impeached, senators have gone to jail, governors have been convicted. But Trump has always been uncomfortable with those limitations. He craves total control over everything, believing that rules are for other people, not for him. If he escapes accountability for this massive fraud, that's a significant blow to the rule of law, and it opens the door for future politicians to engage in similar behavior. So here's the deal. Donald Trump just lost control of Mar-a-Lago to a federal seizure order, and Warren Buffett essentially called his entire business empire a fraud. This isn't just about losing a property. It's about whether someone who built their wealth on decades of deception can continue to operate above the law. If Trump manages to somehow reverse this seizure or escape accountability yet again, then we're basically saying the rule of law doesn't matter anymore. That would mean we're stepping into a completely new realm where wealth and political power provide immunity from justice. It's about so much more than just Mar-a-Lago or Trump's finances. It's about whether we genuinely have a system where justice is blind, or if we're just stuck with whatever the powerful can get away with. Most folks in America understand financial fraud. They may not grasp the intricacies of classified documents or electoral law, but everyone understands lying about what your house is worth to cheat on taxes or get better loans. That's not political persecution, that's just crime. So keep an eye on this. Things are just heating up. The next few weeks are going to be crucial. As Trump's lawyers file appeals, his supporters rally, and the justice system is tested like never before. The stakes have never been higher, the evidence stronger, and the outcome more unpredictable.